and I press stop, don't you hang up. It needs to
Okay.
upload your audio for another minute.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, I had a lot of iced coffee, so I'm like,
You're all jittery. You're all jittery.
I'm wired. Let's go. Okay. Hi,
Appropriate.
Pete. Here we
Hello.
are in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom whose mission it is to explore the world of nerd culture that I've been missing out on and afraid of my whole life. If you're new to the podcast, one of my nerdy friends comes on and tries to get me to love something they've always loved. And that is the case today. Y'all, this is a true nerd with qualifications. He brings the receipts. This is a high school science teacher, Casey's high school science teacher, who I poached as my friend. She is a proud Trojan and the founder and executive director of the Above the Curve Theater Company here in Los Angeles. It is Erica Cochran.
Hi. I bet you don't get too often a nerd who has a theater background as well, huh?
I love that about you. Like, when Casey started school and he said, Mom, you're going to love my chemistry teacher. She's just like us. And I thought, no, that's odd because I know nothing about science. It ain't my thing. But you are a huge theater nerd.
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny because when I was telling my husband I was doing this with you, he was like, which one's Mandy? And he was like, is that the one that kind of looks like you? And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. So yes, total theater nerd, total science nerd. And I embrace using both parts of your brain because I think we need more of that in this world.
Nerd.
Yeah, you're right. That's totally a nerdy thing to say. Wearing it proudly.
But it's so cool. And so you chose Ender's Game. And before we dive into Ender's Game, the novel by Orson Scott Card, we need to address how this all came to be for you and me.
Yeah.
I told one of my dear friends and former guest on my show, Johnny Lee Jr., proud nerd. Which episodes did he do? Oh, he tried to get me to play Zelda, which I failed at, which is hilarious. And he just did Sailor Moon. So he said, you're doing Ender's Game. I love that book, except I hate the author. He's very problematic.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. So I Googled and you Googled. And we had a deep, deep discussion, not really, about whether or not we wanted to still pursue this.
Yeah.
We came to the decision that for this one situation, we are going to look at the art and not the artist. Because
Absolutely.
he is anti-gay rights, which I find to be hurtful and evil at the core of my being, as do you.
Yep.
So I wish that weren't the case. I wish that wasn't who he was today, because I know this book influenced and thrilled millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
So
it's so, and you're same as you. I had no idea. I mean, I've read all of the series and I love his writing and I had no idea. And it always just taints it a little bit, but here we are. We're going to talk about the work, not the worker, and go from there.
Well, I might get in a few jabs.
Fine by me.
So that's our disclaimer. We are here to talk about Ender's Game, the novel. Can you do an elevator pitch of this book for those who are listening who don't know it, as I did not?
Sure. So it's set in the future on Earth when we have been invaded by aliens, and they are trying to figure out how to beat the aliens. And the way they're doing it is using the brilliance of young children to train their new military genius. So that's kind of where it starts. It centers around one kid's journey through this process and the hope for all mankind.
Perfect. You got an A.
Oh, yay! Those are important to me.
When was it written and when was it set? Do we know these things?
Oh, you know what?
Early 80s, right?
Early 80s. I think so. That sounds right. At least the first one.
That sounds right. And do we know when it was set?
You know, I don't know if they ever reference a specific year, to be honest, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's set in the future, or if it's not set in the future, then it's like a different timeline than what we're on.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely wrote it to be a futuristic book.
Yes. Yeah.
However, now we're living in what feels like that time. So
exactly.
This guy is crazy prescient.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like he wrote about things that actually came to be, and I don't know how he knew that.
Honestly, and I think that's what's one of the things that draws me so much to it is because he did kind of almost predict some of the things to come. And I'm like, wait, well, then what if some of the other ideas that he thought of in these books are true as well? Like, I think that's what's so exciting and enticing to me.
Right. It was 1985. And is that when you read it, when it came out?
Oh no, I think I was 3 years old, but I'm
Ugh.
trying to, I think
End the
probably.
podcast. End it. No, Mandy, you're older than me by a
But you
lot.
look younger than me, so who's really winning? So there
Me.
you go. Yeah, exactly. Um, So I think that I read Ender's Game because when you asked me that question, I was like, I don't actually remember because I don't have a great memory, but I'm pretty sure it was college because that's when I was living like my best nerd life. I had like the quintessential nerd engineer boyfriend who, like I pretty much lived the Big Bang Theory. I'm pretty sure they stalked me because I was working at Cheesecake Factory and I lived with four nerds and I was
For
pursuing the
real?
acting career. Yes, yeah, I'm not kidding. I feel like they owe me money.
Oh, that's so great. Because that's what
Yeah.
sparked my whole nerd journey was the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, no, I really it's my life. I was working at the Cheesecake Factory and I lived with four nerds that would sit in their own rooms and play World of Warcraft with each other. So I really did live that life. But I'm pretty sure it was that boyfriend that got me to read the first one because I was never into sci-fi really before that and I just fell head over heels for it.
Okay. And what kind of nerd are you today? How do you satisfy your nerd urges?
That's a
I'll call
that's a
them nurges.
I like that. New
Trademark.
words. Trademark it. I'm a science teacher, so I nerd out a lot in that realm. I teach environmental science and chemistry, so anything that I can do to like make it relevant to students, that's kind of like my big thing. So I nerd out a lot in that sense, and I get to help make new curriculum. So that's one of the ways that I nerd out. How else do I nerd out? I don't know.
Like, are you a
Like
video gamer?
oh no, I'm a mom, so I don't have time for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But no,
Romantasy.
I do. I'm an audiobook person now because I don't
Me
have a lot
too.
of time. So I try to get my reading fix via the car,
Hmm.
which was great. So yeah. So no video games really. But so I guess those are my two strong nerd aspects: is my teaching world and my reading world.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
So you're in college, you read this, and was it instantly mind blown? Give me more. And were there other books of this ilk that you loved?
Oh, girl, I could go on. So yes, I think because of what you said that there was so much that he kind of predicted and it made me really think. Like so one of the things I know we'll get into but like how he embodied, how he envisioned the alien to look like. It's not just like, oh, a green alien with antennas or whatever. Like there was a real reason for what he thought the aliens would look like and why and how they operated. And I thought that was so fascinating. But Ender's Game is one book in a wildly long, passionate series. There's like side channels where they go off of different characters. They follow Ender into the future. It's so amazing how many worlds he has found within this, like starting with this one world. And so I did a deep dive, and I've reread and re-listened to those again and again and again. Every time I feel like I get more out of them.
Who's the reader of this one? Do you know the name?
I don't.
All
So
right.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I am a huge
Well,
audiobook listener as well, so I have certain narrators that get
part of
me
the
all hot and
reason
bothered.
is because there's multiple readers. There's not
Sure.
just one. So they in each of these books, there's like three or four that kind of do different characters, which is always really fun.
Yes. Did you read the foreword or listen to the foreword in the
I I'm
version you had?
I would think so. I think because I'm sure it comes on automatically, right?
Well,
Listening to the book.
depending on, I don't know if there's like an original version from 85 or a newer
Oh,
version. My version was more recent. And I found the foreword fascinating. He unleashes that all of Tolkien's disciples are just rewriting Tolkien and that he set out to do something completely different. And
huh.
I, on the podcast, I only read one book like that called Dragonlance with my guest Simon Petrie. And uh, I kept saying, it just feels like a Tolkien ripoff. And he was like, I know, but it's so good and I love it. And it's so I definitely feel Card's frustration with the idea of like somebody writes something incredible and then everybody's just reworking it to death.
Hmm.
But it sounds like he did that with his own book.
You think so? I
Well,
don't know.
I mean, spin-offs and, you know, character, like he was using his own writing just to rework it.
I see what you're saying. Yes. Yes, I can see. Yes. I think, and I wonder sometimes about writers, and because the story focuses on Ender, but then you get introduced to Bean and you start to learn a little bit about him. Ender's Shadow is about Bean's story. So it's almost like sometimes I wonder if when someone is writing, if they accidentally identify with another character. Like, was it
Hmm.
always planned that you were going to have this incredible side tangent with Bean? Was that always there? I always wonder that, like, how much of this was in your head before you started, and how much of this comes into your mind while you're writing it. I think that's so fascinating because I do think that's part of it is like, yes, people bit on Ender's Game, and I think people wanted them more. They wanted the what's the next, and there's so much you can see at the end of the book that it leads you into like, okay, well then what happens? There's this
Right.
huge thing that happens, and so I always wonder like where does the writer find that? Is it always there? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think as a writer myself, I think a lot of it comes out as happy accidents. You
Hmm.
write yourself into a corner and then you have to figure your way out, and that turns into something totally different and gives you a new world to explore. So, you know, I admire it. I that he could keep going with this world.
Yes. And like
Very
into the
cool.
future, oh man, I hope you read some more of this series because it gets more and more fascinating.
Um, that remains to be seen until the end of the episode.
True. That yeah, we'll find out how you feel.
Well, he in this intro, he says it's about gifted children who are trained to fight in adult wars, which
Mhm.
makes me immediately think Hunger Games. But Hunger Games does not cite this as an influence at all.
Hmm.
But I did record an episode about the actual influence of Hunger Games Battle Royale. Do you know what this is?
I don't know.
So this episode is already recorded. It'll come out before yours with Jimmy Aquino, super nerd, and it's this Japanese movie where kids are sent to an island to kill each other, and
Oh,
only the winner survives. And it really is quite similar to Hunger Games.
yeah.
So there are lots of influences on Hunger Games. It does
Mhm.
not take away from its brilliance, but I just think it's interesting that she doesn't cite any of those.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Maybe she's afraid she'll get copyright infringed or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are accusations about Battle Royale,
Yeah.
about it just being a lift.
Hmm.
So when we meet Ender
Mhm.
and his terrifying brother and wonderful sister, Peter and Valentine, it feels like a relatable kid's story with a bully of a brother. It just starts off pretty normal, or I shouldn't say normal, pretty relatable, pretty, you know, we can all we've all experienced a bad day at school or our brother picking on us.
Yes. Although this is a little extreme, but yes, like Peter's real scary in the beginning.
Yes, he is. And then they remove the monitor from Ender, and it's like, what's happening? What?
Mhm.
So the monitor, as best I could glean, and please know I read every word of this book carefully. I did no skimming, but I still don't understand most of it. But so he has a chip in his brain or in the back of his brain that the government puts there to test these kids.
Yeah, so I think exactly what it sounds like, where there's this monitor in his brain, so it can track all of his brain activities and what's going on, but it also sees and hears everything that he goes through. So that's why the monitor is a little bit of a protection against the bully because they know that the fleet
Oh.
is watching and listening. So while he has that in, everybody knows he's watching. Everyone knows he's being evaluated to see if he's the next gifted child that gets to go up and help the international fleet. But it also is a little bit of a safeguard.
If I had the monitor, it would just be different kinds of cheese all the time. The government would just be watching me think about cheese and
So the
different
good news
uses
is
for
that
it.
they'd take the monitor out real quick, so it wouldn't
Real
get
quick.
as embedded in their brain. Because I think that's what's so painful when they rip out the monitor is that because it was very enmeshed in his brain because he had it for so long.
And that's why he gets beaten up and he goes to town and rips the face off the bully because now there's no witnesses, is what you're saying.
Exactly, and interestingly enough, that was the test, right? We need to see how he fares when he thinks adults aren't gonna save him.
Okay, now
They need
you're
to know.
saying we, and I want to ask you about that.
Yes.
So the chapters start in a different font, which you wouldn't know because you were listening.
Yeah.
And I equated it to Waldorf and Statler on the Muppets because that's where my brain goes. But it seems to be two people watching everything and commenting on it, criticizing it, questioning it. Were those the same people throughout the book? Or was
I
it
think so.
different
I think it's
people?
Graf and Anderson for the most part. There's a few other players, but I think it's mostly Graf and Anderson.
I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And it's a great, scary device.
Mhm.
Oh, these kids are being watched, and oh my God, these people are talking about the end of the world and the war coming, and they're going to use these kids. And I loved each chapter starting with that. But then I have to say, a bunch of chapters in, it felt really redundant. I felt they were having the same argument over and over. Could Ender be the one? No, he's not the one. I think he's the one. Prove it. Well, he's the one. And I wanted more from them.
Yeah.
I might be
Yeah.
alone.
No, you're not alone, look, thinking back, 'cause, well, in the audio, it's 2 different voices, so it's a little more distinct about who is what, so that is part of that too, but yeah, I agree that it is the same thing over and over again, and one can only assume that the writer is trying to emphasize that it's Ender or nothing in a lot of ways, and that's why they keep
Mm.
having the same conversation, that either Ender fixes everything or humankind is over, but yes, I do agree that that was a little redundant.
So it might be a conversation worth having a few times.
Yeah.
I see your point. Okay, game, set, match Cochran on that one. Um, so they Graf, who is this career soldier higher up,
Mhm,
comes to Ender's home and says, "We want to take Ender away
mhm.
forever." And oh, I forgot to mention, Ender is a third child,
Yes.
and this is a big deal. And this exists in the world where governments try to limit how many children you can have.
Mhm.
Um, but third children are not really allowed, and you have to ask special permission to have a third child.
Correct, yeah. So there's, very tight population control, and they commissioned the parents to have Ender because Peter was too violent and aggressive, and Valentine was too kind and empathetic, and they were hoping that the 3rd one would be somewhere in the middle.
Do
By the
we
way,
know
we have to
why?
oh, I was
Yeah,
just gonna say, we have to address his name because his name is not Ender, his name is Andrew.
Andrew. Yeah.
And the reason they call him Ender is because Valentine couldn't say Andrew when she was little, and so, like, Ender is kind of what came out, but I think it's
Oh.
poignant for what he becomes in the end that that is his name, and I'm sure that was purposeful.
Oh, yeah. Do we know why is the government so hot for this family that they would say Peter was not it, Valentine wasn't it, go ahead and have another kid?
That's a great question, and I don't think it's something addressed. I assumed they must do intelligence tests to every kid that is born, and so that's kind of the first rigor, that they have to pass, and so Peter did, and then when he was too aggressive, they're like, "Okay," and they were already allowed to have Valentine, so they tested her too. So I think it's because of their significant intelligence that they and that comes into play later too, how
I
smart they are.
know.
I think that's why they were chosen and requested to have a 3rd. We're probably really told to have a 3rd.
Right, because we don't get to know the parents, so we don't know if the
Mhm.
parents are geniuses or
Right.
yeah,
And it
they're not.
doesn't sound like it because when Valentine gets upset about her dad, later in the story when he's reading some online articles and things like that, and she feels like he's kind of like a bozo for believing this particular character, they don't reflect that the parents are particularly intelligent.
Okay, so you said online news articles.
Yeah, I don't know how, like, how much we wanna go in early, so
We're all over the place. I don't
I
have
know.
a I would love to have a plan, but I don't. So, they are using essentially iPads or
Mhm.
desks that project. I mean, this is the kind of thing that today is no big deal. We all
Right.
have them.
Mhm.
But in 1985,
Right.
he calls them the nets,
Yep.
that these characters are going on the nets to get
Yep.
their news or the
Mhm.
nets to communicate to each other and send messages and play video games.
That you're so right, because we didn't have that back then. I mean, we barely d when did AOL come into existence? The 90s?
I was in college in 92, and that's when I started college. So by the time I was a sophomore or a junior, I think we were told like you can go set up an email account in the computer lab, and I barely knew what that was.
Right.
So
So,
this
yeah.
was 10 years before, or
Wow, that's wild.
around that.
Yeah.
I I I don't have more background on that except to say, wow, that he that he created these ideas.
Truly.
I'm sure they were in the works. I mean, wasn't the internet actually invented in the 60s or 70s or something? Like there this existed, but not in the way where he imagined it exactly how it is today.
Yes. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy, and I had to keep reminding myself that the nets was the
Weren't a
internet
thing.
before the internet was a thing.
Yeah. I forgot about that. I didn't even put that together. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I I had the thought, God, it must suck when you're a third child and all your friends are reading this book and they're like making fun of you because you're, you know,
Right.
I mean, third children are really looked down upon in this world.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, it's very passé. Um, and there he touched a little bit on how both of the parents were religious and both had to kind of give up their religion and also what those religions would normally want, which is more kids or whatever, to fit into society and to norms. So I thought that was interesting that he kind of threw that in just a little bit.
And I don't want to dwell on the negativity about Orson Scott Card, but he is a lifelong Mormon,
Hmm.
which is the Mormons funded the anti-gay marriage legislation in California, and he was a very prominent figure trying to prevent gay marriage because you know how many people gay marriage kills every year.
Right, a lot, so many.
But I find it fascinating that in this book he does really I have a deep observation at the end like he is questioning religion a lot in
Yeah,
this book.
I agree. That's why it surprised me that when you told me that, because I that's not what I would expected.
Right, this is your knowledge of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Ender goes away into outer space to be trained, um I kept having to remind myself, and the book does a nice job of reminding us, he's 6 years
6.
old
I
when he
know.
is taken from his home, and his goodbye with Valentine just I mean, it was so heartbreaking.
Yeah, rip your heart out.
Yeah, but his family knows this is the right thing for mankind, and he knows at age 6 this is the right thing for mankind. I have some questions about him being written not really as a 6-year-old, but it was it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And putting this little kid in this grown-up military world, and I mean, they're all kids, the soldiers are kids, but a lot they're all older and cruel, and there's hazing, and
Yeah.
oh, it's so there was on page 59, he's playing a game against a big kid, and it says his hands were too small on the controls, and it just broke my little heart to
I
think,
know.
you know, he's 6 years old trying to be a
Well,
soldier.
and I think that's part of it too is, like, I don't see I wouldn't write off humans doing this. I think that is part of it too. Like, I could see, and maybe some countries do this, right? Like, they recruit very young and they brainwash very young. And it's so sad. And I think it's extra sad because it's based in reality, right?
Right. Right. I mean, hey, while we're going there, Scientology can make you the doctor of the Sea Org by like 8. You're the doctor.
Awesome.
Yep. Uh,
No comment.
I have a little stress test I want to give you when this is all over. It's
Okay,
really
okay.
cool. You'll hold these cans. It's awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm wondering why a lot of these stories seem to be about kids. And I'm thinking Hunger Games, Battle Royale, this.
Mm.
So many of them are about kids. And some of my observations are like, well, because kids don't have a say in the matter, and then we can just root for them. Whereas if it's a militaristic, angry dude who says, I'm going to go kill all the buggers and save the world, it's not as sympathetic.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a big part of it. And one of the reasons I think they use kids in this particular example is because they say like you guys think faster, you're more, we've already learned all the things at our age. You guys are the ones who are going to come up with new things. And so that's part of it too. But I
Hmm.
think that innocence plays a big part, a really big part, especially once we get to the end and you see what happens. You're devastated for Ender.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be if it was just some evil tyrant.
Yeah. And I think I, this is a book that people read very young.
Hmm.
And so kids love reading about kids
Yeah.
in, perilous or adult situations and imagining them in their shoes. Uh, but I think that makes this story so much more gripping and moving
Hmm.
because it's all children and they
Yep.
are pawns. These adults are just, treating them as if they're disposable at some points.
Hmm. And also, I think, when a reference to Hunger Games, like Rue, like the smallness of some of these kids, the fact that you can't really do that with adults. You can't be like, oh, there's such a size difference and there's such a emotional maturity difference. But with kids, you can, and you can really make a certain kid look extra vulnerable just by being 2 years younger. That doesn't, 31 and 33 is the same thing, but 6 and 8 is wildly different.
That's a great point. Yeah, you can use those details to explain characters, and everybody can picture it.
Yeah.
Um,
Even like when they talk about Petra, how she like walks around naked just like the boys do or whatever, but she's a girl, but because she's young, she hasn't blossomed, so like she kind of looks the same, but then Bonzo still made her, put clothes on, like little things like that you can't do to adults. They
right,
do look very different.
right. Uh, yeah. So he's living in outer space at the battleship center. I don't know what to call it.
I
Like
don't
the
know, battle school.
battle school. There you go. I was going to call it maybe like the Northridge Mall. And we get to meet lots of different soldiers in training at various points in their training. And of course, they all resent Ender because he's the newest and the best
Hmm.
instantly.
Yep.
One of my criticisms of this book and of a lot of stuff I read and watch is when our hero is always one step ahead of everybody else and always the smartest in the room and never makes a mistake. And that I wish didn't exist in this book. I wish Ender were more vulnerable and that we got to see him struggle or fall behind because of his own youth or innocence or bad judgment.
Hmm.
Does that
Yeah.
ever bug you or no?
Um, Yes, yes and no. Because I think so. Ender's shadow. It turns out Ender's actually not the smartest person in the room.
Oh,
Bean is the smartest person in the room, and you won't know
hello.
that from the Ender series.
Right.
But Bean is actually the smartest person to ever exist, like actually, and there's reasons why. Um, but obviously, this didn't focus on that. And but yes, I feel like there were moments where we could have leaned into, when he realizes, man, I'm just picking on Bean for no reason. I'm doing exactly what they did to me. I'm picking on him because he's the small young one and I'm setting him apart just like they made me do. They set me apart and that's why I have no friends. And I'm doing that to Bean. And why am I doing that? And so I'm glad that he acknowledged that he was doing that. But I wish that you would, I think kind of what you were asking is like, have that moment with Bean. Like,
Yep.
say I'm sorry, like I shouldn't have done that. And I understand the conversation that he had with himself, why he didn't, he was like, I have to make Bean strong, like I was made strong. He kind of military logics his way out of it. But so yes, I would like him to have because he did make mistakes, but he like made those mistakes purposeful, I guess. But I would have liked for those to be
Right, it's like
lean
John
in.
McClane was always one step ahead of this group of terrorists,
Right.
really? Like, they've been planning this for many, many years, John
Right.
McClane,
Yeah.
and yeah, Ender outsmarts Bonzo by saying, "I'll tell everyone you won, then you can say you changed your mind." And that's next level chess moves, and he's 6. So
Yeah.
to me, it's a little like, I roll
It's
my
hard to
eyes.
buy
I
in,
it's
but
like
I think
yeah.
you have to remember that this is like the king of Mensa, right? Like these aren't
Mhm.
regular kids. These are way above where we were at 6 years old. So,
Speak for
and that's
yourself. You don't know my life.
fair, 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 fair. 1 point for you. But that's, I think, where like Peter later, when Peter and Valentine are trying to figure out what they should be doing, when they talk about how they're smarter than all their teachers and they already know everything that they're being taught and they're not being challenged, and that's why maybe one of the reasons why Peter is the way he is. They are beyond what we could ever fathom, and so I always have to. But I think I like that he it has them be super smart, but then reminds us, wow, like he can't even fit into the clothes because he's so small. Like they keep reminding us this is the abnormal, not the normal.
Mhm. So you brought up Peter and Valentine, and this is about where in the book we actually go back to Earth to visit them, and I want to dive into what they are up to after this. So Graf goes back to Earth. Wait, I'm conflating two parts. They're all Peter and Valentine become basically anonymous bloggers, and
Hmm.
their political articles are changing the world.
Hmm.
And they're children. There's
Hmm.
Peter's 14 and she's 12 at this point, right?
Yeah, or maybe even younger at the beginning. I can't remember how old they were when they first start blogging.
And their parents don't know, but their parents are reading their blogs and spewing back their own philosophies to them.
Yes.
Um, I so appreciated coming back to Earth and seeing what the family was up to
Hmm.
because it just is so heartbreaking to separate a kid from their family. What up, Ice? And it's so I
Yeah.
really appreciated knowing that they were okay, what they were doing. They had moved, right?
Yeah, so they move because Peter's not doing great. Like his kind of murder-esque psychopath vibes are coming out pretty strong. And they thought, well, if we move to the middle of nowhere, maybe nature will help calm him down. And that's when Valentine finds him like cutting open squirrels and seeing and leaving them for dead and some really horrible stuff. And so it's pretty clear that Peter hasn't changed, that like the true soul of Peter is still in there. And that's what Ender was always so scared of, like that scary part of Peter, not just like big brother bully. But that I still don't know if it's true or not, but he uses that to get Valentine to do what he wants. He says, I'm worried about this part of me, and the only way I feel like I can hone it in is I need power, I need control, and so I want to take over the world, but like in a good way, and I want to keep peace on Earth because I see these things happening, and I think that if we do beat the buggers, I think that things are going to fall apart, and I think we have to be the ones to fix it because we're kind of the only ones smart enough to do it.
Mhm. That is all stuff he says after he says, "I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to kill you."
Yeah,
I mean, Peter.
it's
Like,
wild.
yes. And uh it it's very unsettling and disconcerting. And I kept debating back and forth. Well, is he then he says, "Well, oh, come on. I was just being a big brother, I wasn't really gonna kill you." But it's it leaves a pit in your stomach.
It
His
does.
his anger and his violent tendencies that Ender
Well, and
also has.
yes, yes. Well, and I don't you talked about watching the movie, so I did watch the movie last night, but one of the things, like, and I won't talk much about it unless we're gonna talk about it, but,
A little.
Anderson at one point says, "It's your job to, like, use these kids or whatever and, like, get your victory or whatever, but it's my job to, like, send them back whole." And where is Peter's therapist?
Mhm.
That is, I mean, he had a monitor on for a really long time and it messed with his head in terms of like not being the chosen one. And so I'm like, where is that? I mean, are we just not talking about it? But I feel like we should.
Yeah. I mean, in this world, we don't know we only really know this one family on Earth.
Mhm.
So we don't know what the world is truly like. And is therapy not a thing anymore?
Mhm.
Or, does the government only provide it to certain people? It's it's very upsetting. But Peter has a happy ending.
He does.
So that's fantastic. Good for Peter.
Well, and that is one of the poignant things. I think Valentine pointed it out. Like, here's the brother that I love that's a lover that kills, and the brother that I hate that's a killer that loved. Like they
Mm,
really, in a lot of ways, kind of switched roles or what would be predicted for their outcomes. So Peter
well
does have
said.
and Peter does help save the world.
Well, so does my producer and engineer, Pete Wright, because Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineered by the peerless Pete Wright, who does not have rage and violence tendencies, I promise. And my theme music is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please, please drop a review in there, 5 stars. It really helps more people find me and listen to me. And I want to keep staying on this journey as long as I can. And to that end, if you're feeling like you want me on this journey, please go to makemeanerd.com/join, and hitting that button will get your episodes ad-free and early, and my eternal gratitude. Back to our regularly scheduled program. I couldn't hear the word Pete and not slip it in there.
Yeah, you got it.
So I think one of the themes of this book, uh, and I didn't write who said it, but somebody says, adults are the enemy, not the other armies. They do not tell us the truth.
I think it was Dink, but yeah.
Oh, great name. Uh, that feels like the ultimate mic drop statement. It
Hmm.
perfectly represents the attitude and naivete of youth. Oh, and then Meeker says, the teachers are the enemy.
Yep.
I can imagine every kid reading this at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever age, and getting on board
Hmm.
with that sentiment.
Yep.
And they're not wrong.
No, I mean, not all teachers.
You are the exception. No,
Of
no, no.
course. Yes, yes.
No, in this world,
Yes.
their teachers are grooming them for their deaths and not keeping them informed and not telling them the truth. And
Mhm.
it's I I read that and I felt that energy of
Mhm.
just everybody a rallying cry to the youth
Yeah.
as they read it. It's pretty powerful.
And it's interesting how many of the kids I think feel that way and understand that, because I think a decent amount of them do, but they still fight on because I think they also feel an obligation to save humanity, even though the teachers are the enemy. Like, it's this
Hmm.
weird juxtaposition with themselves. They're like, yes, I think this, but also this. So what do I do?
Well, yeah, it's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
They have this war to win, but they also feel at war with their superiors.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so deep,
Hmm.
Erica.
Yep.
Whew, it's so layered.
Hmm.
I oh, so the some of the technology, he's playing a lot of video games in the
Hmm.
beginning, which I didn't understand, and the movie helped lay that out for me. Some of it is because some of it is physical in the battle rooms where he's
Yes.
flying all around, and then some of it is just almost like a Minecraft game where he's building worlds and fighting enemies in the video game.
Are you talking about the giant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a computer game that changes based on the student's response or the kid's response, but it's kind of like a setup game where you can't win it. And that's purposeful. I think they have to struggle with not winning or something.
Hmm.
But then these things start happening. He like figures out ways to cheat the computer game that the teachers don't even know is possible.
Well, it feels a lot like our concerns today with AI potentially going rogue.
Yes.
And I I found it so prescient. I was just blown away that he thought of this. And it does also remind me of a movie I've never seen, 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Hmm.
but I know the name Hal from my crossword puzzles.
Well, you think that this level of the computer is interesting? Keep on reading the series because that computer starts to mean a whole lot more down the
Oh,
line.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was confused in the book, and then the movie made it clear. The giant does the same thing that Fessick does in Princess Bride, where he's like, which cup has
Mhm.
the poison in it?
Yep.
And then eventually Ender rams the cup into the giant's eye
Uh-huh.
to kill him.
Yeah.
Rather than
Play
he
the
keeps
game.
picking the wrong
Yeah.
cup.
He,
Yeah,
like, cheats the game, basically, yeah.
yeah.
But it's so funny that you found I guess my brain put gave my idea what that scene looked like, and then when I saw it in the movie, I'm like, that's not right." So,
Oh,
it's funny that it helped you to see it, and it was like, "What? That is confusing me. Like, why is, Valentine going over this rubble?" Like, I didn't understand some of it.
yeah. I didn't quite understand like the hologram of Valentine.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like a hologram?
Yeah. Or like a cartoon character.
Yeah. But Graf does go to Earth
Yes.
and recruits Valentine to write a letter to Ender because Ender is at the end of his rope.
Yeah, it's not because the second time is when he like really starts to go, but like he's not pushing himself anymore. It's almost like he's lost his reason to keep doing this. And that's why they get Valentine involved because she's her reason. She's his reason for everything. And
Right.
so they I mean, figured that out and Valentine figured it out too and knows that they're using her, but still in the end like wants the end result of him doing well and saving humanity. So she gives them what she wants even though she knows she's being a pawn and knows that he's going to know it too.
And he does
Mhm.
because he's Ender and he knows everything.
Yeah. But it was enough. It brought him back into into the program where he needed to be, quote unquote, you know.
Yep. LOL alert when they make Ender the commander of his own army, and it's the Dragon Army because they discontinued that army, but the uniforms, they had a lot of uniforms to use up.
Yes.
So they just give them the Dragon Army. I just thought that was a very funny line in a book with no laughs. That made me laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then Petra,
Mhm.
she freezes him out and
What do
then
you
comes
mean?
back to him. Doesn't she turn on him somewhat because he's
Oh, I
better
see what
than
you're
her
saying.
and he's getting the advantages and she's
So my interpretation of it at least was she kind of thought that he would go light on her because they are friends, and so she
Mhm.
was very upset by that and turned on him in the sense that like, you know, she had her little time out, but she didn't turn on him like Bonzo turn on him. Like she was never part of trying to hurt him, but she did kind of, you're right. She iced him out a little bit. She cut him off a little bit
Yeah.
because she felt really hurt by him not going light on her. And really, he didn't go light on her, but her team still did better than most of the teams that he played because she's really good.
Right. Right. I just was bummed because she felt like the substitute for Valentine in his life, and I was so
Yeah.
happy he had someone like that, and then when she wasn't by his side, I I'm too sensitive for this stuff, Erica. I'm like, "No, Petra, you have to be nice to him." He's only 9 at this point.
Mhm.
It's crazy to me that 3 years passed in this book, and we're still talking about a little child
Yeah.
experiencing these horrors.
He really does have such a hard childhood, you know, like isolation. He's basically been isolated for 3 years. He doesn't have really any friends. Like he gets close to someone and then they take him away. He gets close to someone and then they take him away. Like so it's heartbreaking to think cuz how much of I mean that's what childhood is about. It's all about that kind of stuff. And so he's denied everything that a normal child would have.
Yep. Do you like Ender?
I do. I really do. I think the reason I like Ender is because he's doing everything he can to not be Peter. And I think there's something so beautiful about the desire to be good. You know, throw out another, you know, questionable writer, but Harry Potter has that
Mm,
same vibe in there where there's a lot of Harry Potter chooses the right path because and it's all about the choices that we make and there's demons inside all of us. And so the reason I love Ender is because he is Valentine with the capability of being Peter. And then when he ends up accidentally being Peter, it crushes him. It like
yeah.
he literally he breaks.
Yeah. So, let's talk about that. There is a scene where Bonzo, the most aggressive of the bullies at Command Central.
Command
Why
school.
can't Command School? Why can't I remember it? They isolate Ender in the shower.
Mhm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I reread it and I think I have this right. So obviously Ender is naked because he's in the shower, and these
Mhm.
bullies come in and they're going to kick his ass, and Bonzo's
Mhm.
going to teach him a lesson. And Ender says it's not fair. I'm like naked and wet. So Bonzo strips down and gets naked. Do I have that right?
I believe so, yes.
You homophobic piece of shit. This is the not you, Erica. Oh
No,
my
no, I
God, I
know.
adore you. But this is what you're writing, and then you're trying to stand against gay rights.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it was such a shock to me.
Oh, gay much?
Right.
So what ends up happening, and by the way, there's so much fart eating in this book.
Yes,
Fart
indeed.
fart eater seems to be a term of endearment and an insult all at once. It's like the Smurf of Ender's Game. But he ends up killing Bonzo. He doesn't
Yeah.
know he kills him, but he
Mhm.
knows he beats him badly.
Yeah.
And only finds out, confirms his fears at the end that he did in fact kill Bonzo.
Right.
Why do you think they kept this the secret? They tell him, "Oh no, Bonzo went back home. We let him go."
I think because they know that he's Valentine inside. And if he knows he's Peter, he's done.
Hmm.
I think that he will not be able to continue on if he believes that he's Peter, because that's his ultimate fear. That's why all the things in that game, like he was scared of the Peter mirrors, because that was him looking in the mirror and seeing Peter. So if he is a killer, then he's Peter and he's done. That he will be useless to their endeavors. And the funny thing is that, not funny, haha, but they set him up for this, right? Like they talked about it. They knew Bonzo wanted him dead, and they said we have to let him know that nobody's going to save him. Just like when Stinton or whatever the kid's name, and when he was
Stilton.
Stilton, thank you.
Mhm.
Same thing, that he has to know, and we have to see what he does. And it was the same thing that he made sure to finish all the battles in the future. I think they kept saying that he ended all, like, there's no more battles with Bonzo now. There's no more battles with Stinton. Like, so that they set him up to do this. It's like almost like they knew it was going to be one of them, and they took the risk anyway. You're taking a 50-50 chance that the kid that you think is, or hoping is going to save the world, is going to survive this, and you go for it anyway. It's a big risk.
Yeah. I am having a lot of deep realizations. You are sparking a lot for me, and I'm going to reveal them right after this. So I read this and I took a lot of, as my dear friend Tommy Metz, friend of show, likes to say, beeps and boops. I got a lot of technology. I got a lot of crazy anti-gravity rooms and a future where we're fighting aliens. I did not get as much humanity and heart and character and inner turmoil as you are getting. And I what's wrong with me?
Well, I think that's just brains, right? Like my brain just makes it work, because some of the things I'm like, I didn't understand the gravity stuff, but I'm just like, "Meh, physics and me, we don't get along." Yes, I know, I'm a science teacher saying that. And so I skimmed the technology stuff that didn't make sense, and I like leaned into the humanity side of it, I think, because that's where my heart is. So
Yes,
I
mine
think
too.
that's
But
just
are are these first read impressions? Like, had we had this talk when you were in college, would you have been able to say he wants to be a Valentine and he's so afraid of being a Peter and they know this about him, and that, because I didn't get all that, and that's fascinating and meaningful and worth podcasting about. Do you know what I mean? Like
I
that's
don't
it's a
know.
human story.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I have read them multiple times. So, and I've also done a lot of therapy. So maybe I'm seeing these things because I look at life differently. So I don't know if I had the same, but I don't think that I would have been as addicted to the series if I didn't see the humanity of it all, because
Yeah,
the technology is overwhelming. And I don't think I would have leaned in as much if yes. So my assumption is then, yes, I always saw the humanitarian side of this.
that's that's great, and that's a blind spot for me, I guess. You
Reread.
know, but what?
Reread. You're fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm reading it and going, I don't know if I like this kid. And meanwhile, you're feeling his feelings and in his heart and in his mind. It's really cool. And you're making me see so much more than I got from reading it and watching the movie very quickly.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie?
I hate the movie so much. I
Okay.
hate it so much. I watched it with my husband last night, again, a rewatch, and it's been a long time, but I can't tell you how many times I had to pause it and be like, that's not at all what happened. This is
Hmm.
actually what happened. Like, they shoved these 10 things together. They took this really important thing out. Like, it was, I understand that you have to make cuts because there's so much going on in the book, but and they added weird things. Like, there was no need for the alien at the end. Just two thumbs down.
Okay. Uh, I read it took like 10 years and 9 different scripts to get it to this point, which shocked me because it didn't feel like it had all that much TLC. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 63 and a 65%, but it was universally panned. It didn't make its money back.
Hmm.
It looked good with the anti-gravity stuff and the battle room. I thought the effects were good,
Hmm.
but it was made into or released in 2013. So by then, these things, seeing the internet, whoop-de-doo,
Yeah.
you
But they
know?
also cut out there was no Locke, there was no Demosthenes, there was
That's
no
true.
storyline about them at all. Like, they didn't capture a lot of the humanity, right? Ender's relationship with a lie, and eventually Bean and all these characters, they show it with Petra, but that's about it. And you're like, okay. And also, they make it look like kind of like a lover's situation with Petra, and I'm like, they're six. Like, that's not a thing. They weren't. It was never in the book portrayed as more than a friendship. And I
Right there.
feel like
He's
the
much older in the movie.
yes. Well, I mean,
He's
how
like
do
a
you
13-year-old actor playing a nondescript age of maybe 11 or
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Good
Exactly. And
actor.
so yeah, yeah,
Good
he
actor.
was very good. But I just I so much of I felt what is important about the storyline, that humanity was left out. Even Graf, like Graf and Mazer, their hidden love and care for Ender did not show up at all in the movie.
Hmm.
They did not get that. And so
Yeah.
it lost so much of the importance.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the big twist of of the end of the book and the
Yeah.
movie. Uh, and why this is called Ender's Game,
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah.
So they send him into his final test, and you have to
Mhm.
win this test, and then you'll be ready to lead the command.
Mhm.
Psych,
Just kidding.
it's not a test. They send this child army.
Mhm.
Some of them die, and
Yep.
they are sent in to kill the buggers, this whole race of aliens. And that
Mhm.
this is where I did get his humanity because he was so sickened that
Mhm.
he took out an entire race and didn't even know he was doing it.
Right.
And that was I did get a child wrestling with that.
Mhm.
Uh, but it was a really good twist.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like the book sets it up a lot better than the movie too. Like, I feel like you could see it that it was maybe a fake out in the movie, but the book, you really thought this was school. You
Yep.
really thought this was all pretend, and then it's not. And then like the way that the crowd cheers, like all the people who are watching his final test, and they all cheer and they're like, why is he like you guys are cheering that I like passed my test? Like, that's weird. And it kind of starts to click, and you just you see the devastation, and it's so heartbreaking. Can you imagine that pressure on your shoulders that you wiped out an entire sentient species?
Not again. I did it once.
Yeah,
And it's exhausting. I
I
don't want to
bet.
go through that again. Um, well, then my notes are confusing me. So he does retire sort of, and he gets reunited with Valentine.
So, as predicted by Locke and Demosthenes, the world erupts in chaos the second that
And
the four
Locke and
men are dead.
Demosthenes are the blogger names that the Peter and Valentine create. Just in case
Yes.
anyone's thinking you lost your mind.
Yes, yes. Thank you for the clarification. And what's interesting is Peter plays Locke, who is the actual like more level-headed one, and Valentine plays Demosthenes, which is the kind of like radicalist, extremist. So they're not fitting their characters, but that was purposeful because Peter wanted to rule the world as Locke as the good person in the long run. He knew Demosthenes was just like a kind of placeholder. But anyway, as predicted, the world erupts in chaos. There's war. There's war on their little Formic island, even like where they're staying. And so he basically sleeps for like days and kind of wakes up and things are settled. And they're like, okay, so like this some guy named Locke is like calm things down. Like we've got things steady on Earth. And these are some things kind of going on. And so we should be able to go home soon. And so it's like slowly the kids start to go home and Ender doesn't. And he finally realizes they're never going to send him home. But luckily, and again, the book had this and the movie did not. Valentine comes up to him and is like,
okay.
hey, I'm here. It's me and you, bro. Like, your brother wants you back on the mainland to use you as a puppet. You've been a puppet your whole life. No more puppets for you. Like, let's go off and just be. Like, let's go start this colony on this other island. And that's kind of one of the things that, ironically, we've killed off all this alien species, and now we're going to go steal their homes because they're all dead, and all their homes are viable for humans. So now the thirds can have a life, right? We don't have to kill the thirds anymore, or whatever they did with the thirds. And he is not sure if he wants to do that, but he eventually says yes. And I know for me, that's like a happy moment. He gets reunited with Valentine, and she gets to be with the brother she really loves.
Right.
So there's that. And then
The Speaker of the Dead is the book he writes?
So yes. So when I don't know if they really establish how many years go by, but they go to this I keep trying to say island, but it's a planet.
It's a planet.
It's a whole planet. They go to this planet and they
It's
set
Planet
up
Fitness.
shop. They set up shop, and he, is kind of he's governor for a while, but eventually he's just kind of like the name.
Oh, right.
And they are going to send another colony from Earth, so he has to go scouting for somewhere that's far enough away that they can trade, but not so close that they're going to get in each other's way. And he starts doing this, and he finds the dead giant's body from the game. And he's like, what? Like, how is this even possible? Like, that was in a game in my head. Like, and so he starts to put two and two together that the Formics built this for him, that like the Formics were in his head and they don't know how to communicate with us. So this is the only person they've ever been able to connect to. And what you'll learn in later books, if you do read it, is that the computer is the way that they were able to connect. It was literally the computer. So they try to get a message to him by recreating this computer game simulation. And so he finds a queen. He finds a pupa of a future queen there. And somehow the queen is able to telepathically tell him, listen, we didn't know you were sentient. We thought it was kind of like us, where like everyone's a robot. And then we didn't know. And now we know, and we're not coming back, but it's too late. You're coming to kill us. This is our last hope. Like, any chance you want to take us around the universe and find us a place to live, maybe? And of course he does, because he's devastated about the xenocide that he created.
So Speaker of the Dead, he does write that book. Am I crazy?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. So
no, that's okay, because a lot of what you said I didn't comprehend as I read it.
So the reason he writes the Speaker of the Dead is because he has spoken to or communicated with the queen, and so he writes the story of the Formics from the Formics perspective,
right?
And that is very important because it completely changes how people feel about Ender. And this is kind of future tripping a little bit, but Ender was the savior of the world, and so that's how humanity sees him. And later, Ender's not the savior of the world. He's the destroyer of sentient species. And so his own book turns how people feel about him in the future. And then a kind of a really cool moment too is this book is not like super read by everyone. It's almost like a scholarly read, but Speaker of the Dead becomes a thing. And then his own brother asks him to be the Speaker of the Dead for him, like full circle. This kid who kind of destroyed his life and was like his worst nightmare always, asks him like, hey, can you look at and tell my real story, like the goods and the bads? Will you tell my story? And that's a really cool moment for them to kind of wrap up their trauma in their family, I feel like.
Yeah. One thing I wrote that I don't know if I'm onto something, but when Speaker of the Dead does become a book, it becomes a religion.
Yes.
And that to me felt like a defense of the Book of Mormon. That, this story of Joseph and meeting God, and it all sounds like poppycock, but Mormons believe it's real. Mormons believe this happened.
Right.
And I felt like it was some kind of statement, like almost like he was saying, "See, I can make a religion from a sci-fi book." I don't know. It just
I see the overlap there. I see the overlap.
okay,
Although in
I
some
might be
ways I'm like,
stretching.
are you trying to reinforce that what you've got going on is real, or are you trying to say that like anyone can make up a religion?
That's what I
So
was thinking.
yeah,
I thought it was the latter
right.
because I thought at this point maybe he was forsaking being a Mormon and he wanted to write science fiction and all sorts of other fun stuff and then, 30 years after he wrote the book, he's helping take down the people I love. Okay.
I guess it got beaten out of him.
Yeah. Did we get to everything? Do you want to wrap up by just saying what you love about this book? Why, when I said to you, "Hey, you're a nerd. What do you want to talk about?" This was what you came up with pretty quickly, and I had never heard of it.
That's wild to me. But yes, it's a very like nerd world book, I guess maybe. I think it just is a beautiful way if you are at all interested in a perspective of how aliens might be. This is the beginning of a journey because there's a lot more that goes in the future. So that's part of it. And the technology, the futuristic stuff, like you said. But really, there's so much humanity in there that if you really, really look at it, there's a lot of self reflection that you can do, like talking about those demons inside us and like who we see in the mirror and who we could be and who we are afraid of being. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot in there.
Yeah, who we're destined to be and nurture versus nature and
Yeah.
yeah, so I will say I really enjoyed the setup. And then I got very muddled, as you could tell by my trying to reference things and being like, "Oh, whatever, it wasn't a mall." But, uh, I would say I liked it. I didn't love it. I wasn't immediately entranced by it. But talking to you about it made me like it a lot more because of the human dynamics you're bringing to it. So I really appreciate that. And now it does feel like, huh, there's so much in there that I didn't see or that I missed. And I did get hung up on, I don't get it. Is this a video game or is this real? So,
Yeah.
so thank you for really making it so much more meaningful than I thought.
Oh, well, I am happy that I was able to find another person that at least liked it, and hopefully some listeners will fall in love with it like I do because I truly love the series. I could re-listen to it over and over again. It makes me think more and more every time I do. So
Oh,
I don't know,
great.
maybe give another book a chance.
For me, that's Valley of the Dolls. Okay. Erica, thank you so, so much for
I'm
coming on the podcast. And everybody should follow Above the Curve on Instagram to see what you guys are up to next. And is that
yeah.
accurate? Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. Like, thank you for having me. This is my first podcast, so hopefully I didn't talk too much.
not at all. You
But
were wonderful.
well, lovely. And then, maybe you can we're doing a musical next, a brand new musical. So you'll probably
You
be hearing from
don't
me to audition.
say.
What you doing in October? No.
Let me think. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.